forecast said that there'd be snowflakes. Whoa, you can make us see it your way. No way, gasoline and propane, more flames. Oh no, no more snowflakes.
We can all get along, but there's no stopping. Ay, everybody's wrong, that's a real problem. Ay, they don't want to hear it, but they still talking. Ay, soon enough, we running out of options. Ay, this ain't gonna end till it's in the coffin. Ay, we ain't gonna be friends till we try to squash it. Ay, I don't know how we can make amends or we drop it. Snowflakes melt when it's hot, kid.
Y'all are so fake. Oh no, the forecast said that there'd be snowflakes. Whoa, you can make us see it your way. No way, gasoline and propane, more flames. Oh no, no more snowflakes.
Hello, everybody. This is Amária Sweet with HeartMind Expressions and the Fab Four. I've got Sue McClure with me and AlexSpielman. Tonight, Dr. Bloom will not be with us. But hey, guys, it's been a while. Kind of crazy things going on this summer, but we're able to finally get together again. How are you guys doing?
After a long sabbatical.
Right? Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, we all had a lot of things going on. It was been a busy summer from all four corners of all of us here.
Yes. And Alex,
on vacation.
you've got some stuff going on that's pretty cool too.
Yeah, we'd like to hear the update.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, me running school board. Yes, that. Yes.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah, so I am one of 5 candidates currently running, 3 of which will win their seats. I am the 3rd person on that ballot, which is lucky for me because most people just go 1, 2, 3, and so I have a better odds than most. But besides that, I recently got endorsed by a PAC, and they are currently helping me with a plethora of different things.
That's so
I
cool.
really can't get it.
That is
I love
really
that.
awesome.
Congratulations. Super cool.
What's another thing that's kind of interesting about this is it's really so far has been a lot of a learning it's been much of a learning process. I didn't know very much about a lot of this stuff going in. Know a lot more now than I did before. But I think I'm noticing that there's a general sense of ignorance. Now, I don't want that to sound like negative when I say that, but most people are not too familiar with what a school relative to, say, your regular governmental bodies.
Right.
A little bit different. But I would dare to say that school board is probably one of the most important offices you can hold. And at least here in New Jersey, they are definitely one of the most well-trained individuals because there is state law about you have to take courses every year of your term. These are 3-year terms. So every year you got to take classes about learning about certain things, what's happening with state law, financial campaign finances, stuff like that. How you deal with a quorum, how to deal with privileged information, how to interact with actual governmental bodies outside of your own. It's just a huge, you're learning while you're in the board more than you are outside of the board.
Nice.
And all this stuff is mandated. It's not like I can't do it. I have to do this stuff in order to be maintained on that board through ethics. Yeah, that's another thing. Instead of a regular impeachment, because every member is just as strong as the other, they just have priority. You have to deal with what's called an ethics board, if anything happens.
Nice.
So it's a lot.
Yeah. Can you tell
A
me,
lot,
Alex,
and
what actually got you to decide to run for school board? What motivated you to do this?
do you want the short story or the long one?
Do I get to split the
Well,
difference?
we're here. Let's just go for it, baby. Whatever flows.
Oh, okay. I'll give you the medium. I'll give you the medium
Yeah,
length.
there you go.
So background information. I actually have my degree as a educational practitioner. I have my associates in it. I was actually planning on becoming a teacher. And one of the things that I've learned while I was doing my in-class instruction, which is literally in a classroom, I was dealing with fourth grade. I was in a classroom where they were doing math, history, and then occasionally I would go into the other classroom where they were doing language arts. And I was learning that what you are told how teaching is completely different than how it actually is. It's one of those things where book learned is different than street learned.
True.
And that really kind of knocked the winds out of my sails about doing it. I mean, I still graduated, as long as you have your associates, you still have that. But it made me think, we can do better. We can do a lot better. Now, this was during when we only had to worry about Common Core, which is the educational standards which New Jersey and many other states use. But now we're dealing with a lot more nefarious things, such as social emotional learning, comprehensive sexual education, and most notably the concept of critical race theory. Now, I mean, it depends on which school you are part of and how much of this is being used, but they're mainly all being used. They're all being used in some shape or another, and this is through federal tax dollars. Actually, there's something called the Whole Child Initiative. I mean, it has a longer name, but this is all through the CDC, or where we heard that name before. Always the CDC doing something when it comes to health or education or who knows what else.
Oh, of course, because we could never know enough about our own bodies and minds.
Heaven forbid, right?
Safe in all environments. Now, that sounds noble to a normal person, but when you actually break down what they're doing and how they're doing it, it's all about what is the best way to control a developing mind, right? Because at that age, they're not familiar with how things work. They are much more
So impressionable.
gullible.
So impressionable.
Yeah, impressionable. And so what is the best way to exploit that? So here in the state, we're dealing with our own comprehensive sexual education program. The new system went into effect this school year. My school district already has a program which is already up to the standard, so they didn't have to make any major changes. I mean, they did make some changes, and that's still something I'm still dealing with. But it's not like you had to do a massive change to your local curriculum anymore. We didn't have to, which is actually in some cases more dangerous because the public is not as well informed about what's going on, because they don't have to. There's no requirement for them to be open about things as much as if they had to introduce a brand new part of the curriculum, because it can just kind of be swept in. But the one thing I was concerned about mainly, and this is really how I got myself involved, was actually the comprehensive sexual education program, because I've been focusing on that stuff since at least 2017, 18. It's been a while. And I saw how it was going down the pipeline from its main spot, which is in California. That is your main test kitchen area for educational standards. You know how Ohio is the test kitchen for restaurants and food trends? Well, California is
Yeah.
the same thing, but for education. What programs will work? How will they be utilized, and what way can we do it? And we saw back in 1819 how these standards were strongly opposed by parents over there, and how a lot of those things had to be rolled back significantly. But guess what they did? They brought them over here. They brought those standards over here and modified, of course. It's not the same ones they use. It's modified. So, yeah. I actually got asked to run. And I see we lost Amária. Uh, so I was actually asked to run for office. I wasn't planning on it. I wanted to run. That's the one thing. I've always wanted to run. And I just ran prior for a local county committee position, really vacant for quite a few years. And so I'm like, hey, we've done that. Let's go on to other things. And here we are.
Wow, that's absolutely amazing. I mean, and I know it was a heck of a journey to get there,
Mm-hmm.
and you still got some walking to do, definitely. But we are literally loving every step of the way, just watching you do all this. It's amazing.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I'm not. Oh, there she is. She came
Yeah.
back.
Oops, I
Welcome
guess
back.
my internet just cut out. Sorry, guys.
Did you
Anyway,
pay the
I just finished. Where did you miss me? I'll catch you up real quickly.
Shoot, you were talking about the education system and then it just crapped out and I'm like, oh shoot. That's fine. For the listener's sake, go ahead and just move forward and I'll just catch
All
up.
right. Anyway, okay. So yeah, I did the county committee, doing that school board, and yeah, it's a lot of learning, Sue. A lot of learning.
It's just really exciting, the stuff that you're able to do. I think that you'll be a really positive influence on the kiddos out there. Awesome.
Yeah, that's the hope, and this is probably one of the most important school election years in recent memory, from my understanding.
Wow.
One reason is because we just changed the times where school starts. Secondly,
Oh, really?
yeah, they all. So three things happened with that. The first thing was that the times are obviously, as I mentioned, they changed. So elementary and upper elementary, because we don't have a middle school anymore, which is one of the few changes that happened. They start later, and so do the junior high and the high school. Everyone starts later, and so they get out later. On top of this, you also have they went from what's called 3-tier busing to 2-tier busing. And what that means is, before, the middle school, which was now our upper elementary, had its own start time. So did elementary, so did and then the junior high and the high school, they had their own start time. So you had the junior high and the high school, the middle school too, and then the elementary. All of them had different start times, and we went and changed that so that the upper elementary and the regular elementary schools start at one time, and then the junior high and the high school have one time. What this caused was this massive chain of events, which some schools in the other districts have different start times, and what happens is that some of the bus drivers we have are contracted out outside of the school district. You'll have in-house drivers, but you'll also have contractors. Now, some of those contractors, they couldn't fill the contracts that we had because they had other obligations to other school districts.
Right.
On top of the fact there's already a national shortage of drivers in the first place. So that just tightened that that made that the exact greater. It made the strain of the amount of drivers needed, and it greatly exasperated it.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And so now you have the school district saying, well, it's all because of contractors. They're the reason why this stuff is happening. It's like, no, you guys, you changed the start times. You changed the busing schedule. You changed this, that, and the other thing. You caused this and made it far worse than it could have been. On
Yeah,
top
they were
of that,
talking about that. Yeah.
on top of them doing construction now, yeah. This is my biggest gripe when it comes to this. We just got out of a major global phenomenon. All right, and we can talk about the semantics of if it's real or not real. What happened at the end of the day was that it affected every aspect of life at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And it's doubly so to the young ones out there who are going to school. They weren't able to just go into the school and meet their friends and go to class and do sports. That entire way of life completely disappeared for 25 6 months. That much time is not coming back, and the last thing we need to do is cause more change the first year we have in-class instruction again.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
think that we need to go back to a time where, hey, this is how you go back. This is how you go to school, right? These are your classes. You go to your classes when you're supposed to, and then you go home, and then maybe you go to work if you're older. No, what we had to do was, no, this is your new start time. This is your new start place. This is your new start everything. Let's just kind of get our bare basic bearings back before we do anything crazy. On
Yeah.
top of building a new high school, that's another thing. They're building a new high school that just got approved.
Wow.
Uh, it's like, hey, how much more money can you put in this hole? We're talking millions and millions of dollars here.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, we have this surplus that we can use. Well, there's a surplus because you haven't been using the facilities for 2 years. It's not because you just are making money. In fact, the school board technically, the school district doesn't make money. I mean, yes, they'll have their own. They have their own budget. They have all their other things. The only way they really make money is through tax levies and through bonds from the town. And then they have their own secondary things that they make income from. So, sorry, went on a little tangent, but
I noticed that the schools here in St. Louis, Missouri, especially the Alton district, they before the whole the Rona and stuff that was going on, they were discussing about changing the school time so that it meets the type of kid that you are. Because, for example, the young ones, like preschool, kindergarten, first and second graders, they're early risers.
yeah.
And they have no problem getting up early in the morning, most of them. So they start the school earlier, and they were thinking for the older kids, they would put the school later. But then they had the argument, well, what about after school stuff, sports and everything? So that's why we need it earlier. So it went back and forth for quite a while. And then the whole Rona incident happened, and I think it just got put on the shelf. I don't know where they are with it now, but I'm just saying it would make more sense to start school according to kind of the age group that you're at due to your biological makeup of how your sleep pattern plays out. That part would be important, definitely.
Another thing needs to be, I think personal responsibility is another big element that needs to be brought up is, if you have to go to school or you have to do something at a certain time, you got to make sure you make enough time to go to sleep.
Yeah.
You just can't have, and that was a big issue with, I know a lot of my classmates in high school, was they were staying up way later than they should have. And they're like, oh, I'm so exhausted. And it's like, yeah, you stayed up until like midnight and you have to get here at 7 o'clock. I mean, I'm going to sleep at like 10 o'clock. You needed your rest. So we needed that personal responsibility. But yeah, I completely agree. I mean,
Well, yeah, besides forcing yourself to stay up at, past your bedtime hours and being more responsible for your sleep. But
Yeah.
I'm just talking about the natural rhythm. Do you know what I mean? And I had this fight with my older daughter, it was just this constant dragging her out of bed because it was just so early in the morning. So, I mean, it's just that when the school puts things together, and I'm not sure where they get in the entire rhyme and reason. Some of it makes sense, like after school activities, you don't want the kids playing soccer in the dark or anything like that, because during the fall season, nighttime darkness comes a lot sooner than it does during the summer parts of the year. So it's just that we're battling between people's or kids sleep patterns, clock pattern, plus the time of the year it is, plus what kids want, so that kids will be able to be as productive as they can during the school day. So it just depends on how the school's seeing this stuff. But it's just that I don't know. I kind of agreed, but I kind of opt out with the whole school thing this year. I think homeschooling is right now the best course of action due to all the crazy stuff that's going on.
yeah, I understand. It makes sense.
I think that would
Uh,
definitely be the best course. A lot of times there's parents that can't. I mean, right now I'm in a
Yeah,
position
absolutely.
where I don't have my kids. My ex-husband has them. Their father is doing a great job with them. But my youngest just can't keep boundaries, or up to this point hasn't been able to. Now he's like begging to come back, and I'm just not in a place. I'm just like, right now I think that a lot of us are in positions that we're doing the best we can, and you just need to go to school. And so I think
Yeah.
sometimes, like in my case, I would have to be working full time with a kid in school. There's no way in a lot of our cases where we could do homeschool. So we really do need to make sure we've got a school system that as parents we can trust, knowing that our kids are going to school, that they're safe, they're not being groomed by predators, in one
Yeah,
way or
and it's
another,
that's
trying
my
to.
biggest concern. Yeah, it's a
Right.
huge concern.
And it bothers me that a lot of the curriculum seems to be geared towards victim mentality, not having critical thinking, not understanding all of our histories, hiding different things, repeating toxic behaviors in countries, just the shit show that's been going on.
Yeah, I mean, some of the stuff that the school is showing is, the predatory behavior, and they're trying to normalize the heck out of it, and I absolutely do not approve of it. And this is just my opinion. And there's parents out there that actually approve that kind of behavior. I'm just not one of them. So yeah, so a lot of people don't have the option of homeschooling because both parents are working. I mean, the system has been designed for a very long time to
Oh,
make
it's
it so
been
that,
totally.
to make it so that two parents have to work. I mean, it was a lot
Mhm.
easier, what was it, in the 50s especially,
Or
right? Around
or
even
make
earlier,
it
even
to
earlier.
where as growing up
Yeah,
as youth that we don't learn how to communicate, so that we have toxic relationships. And most homes nowadays are single family,
yeah.
parents.
Yeah,
And
they
so it's
made it that
hard.
not even just a single parent home, but even
Or the split
where
homes.
or even where the both parents have to work, versus in the older days it was just the income was enough easily for one parent to work, and the other one to
Right.
stay home. And um I kind of miss those years. That was a lot easier to run a household, if you will, to raise a child that way. And you could choose homeschooling or you could choose to send them to school. But here, a lot of I know that a lot of households do not have that choice, and they're forced to send their kids to school, and they basically have to battle at home. Well, I learned in school that this is how you treat people, or this is what you do. I learned about gender changing. I learned about all sorts of other things, and their parents are going, "Oh my gosh!" And they have to basically unknot everything they learned that day, and it's just like double, the stress and the work on the parent.
See, this is where a lot of the stuff I kind of draw the line when it comes to a lot of these things. Is there was a time, not that long ago, where there was limits. This is what the school does. This is what you do at home, right? School is where you learn about you learn about anatomy, you learn about how things operate, and then the application of these things were taught at home, right? You didn't go into the birds, the bees, and the grass and trees at school so much as it was at home. I mean, you touched on certain topics, but you only touched them. You didn't fully embrace these topics, and most of the time it's just because they're sensitive topics, and you need someone there who can talk about these things without scarring.
Yeah. I mean, the latest thing right now is I don't remember who was talking about it. I saw an article. It was really disgusting, so I didn't want to, go through it too much. But they were talking about, now they say that they think it's good for kids to watch parents get together. I don't approve of that.
Wow.
So it's just,
Damn.
it's just the things that they put out there, and are desensitizing everyone. And it's just, unfortunately, there's a lot of people going along with this. I just think that when the kids go to school, they should learn how to read, they should learn how to write, they should learn how to do math. And even though history is completely messed up, and definitely basically communication, not texting. One of my favorite scenes that I've seen on a TV show, and the parent took away their kids' cell phones for misbehaving, and they were like, "Well, we don't have our cell phones. How are we going to talk to our friend?" And the mother's like face to face using your voice, and the kid was like, "What? You mean like a freak?" So. It's unfortunately, I've noticed that even my older daughter has talked about how her classmates would sit literally in front of each other, texting to each other. I kind of wonder if we were genetically going to have our vocal cords being bred out of our, genetic coding over time. Yeah.
That's so sad. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that was a common thing. I mean, my older daughter thought it was crazy. It was weird. Even for her, that was, completely an odd way to communicate. It's one thing if you're across the room and stuff, but you're sitting next to each other.
Right.
Yeah, it's just, but that's just how it is. And it has gone far. They had commercials out there that even kind of proved the point where kids are even calling someone on the cell phone that's literally probably in the next room in the same house, stuff like that, and say, "Can you get this for me?" I mean, it's just, I thought it was really ridiculous. But that's it's laziness has definitely been endorsed. Nonverbal communication, and now adult activities, critical race theory, where it just keeps going.
Well, and also entitlement. I mean, a lot of these kids expecting, well, mom and dad are working and they're my mom and dad, so they owe me, blah, blah, blah. No, if my kids want something, I'm like, what are you going to do to earn it, dude? You're going to get a job? I mean, I got bills to pay.
Not even just entitlement, but now they have disrespect all around. If you notice lately, a lot of teenagers are beating adults up, whether it's adults at the grocery store, another, their own family members and whatever. We're just seeing an increase of these things. It's just gotten really bad. There's just so much loose running around. So that kind of, brings to the next topic that we were going to talk about, where we were going to talk about listening to our bodies. So and it's something especially that kind of all of us is kind of touch on to understand about. We don't listen to ourselves anymore. A lot of people just don't, and especially those who are listening to the side that doesn't reason well with society.
Either
So
that or they try to fit into some sort of mold. Like, I think a lot of people are trying so hard that they want to find something that's greater than themselves. And so, that's fine if you want to, find a religion. Even New Age is a religion, whatever you're going to do. But if you're going to do it, find what's the positive that you can use in that to take yourself to the next level, not in, okay, how am I better than the next person or doing what I should and they're not and they're sinning or whatever. No, that's horseshit. Let's look at things objectively and how can I be a better person? This person's struggling over here. Hey, I struggle too, and that's okay. And sometimes we have shit show dumpster fire days, and sometimes we're strong and we put our armor on and we're just like busting through things.
Yeah, the main thing is that when you look for relationships with people, any kind, I'm not even talking about romantic or anything, you want to look for harmony. More than anything, you want all your behaviors and activity. Does it harmonize with your situation, where you are, so when you listen to yourself, if you sit quietly, and you don't have to really meditate, you don't have to do any of the meditation stuff you don't want to, but if you just simply sit quietly and ask yourself questions, you can ask your body knows absolutely everything. Your higher self knows everything about you. And Amária, would you like to kind of touch on the higher self? Would you like to explain what your higher self is? Just in case the listeners don't know what a higher self is.
Oh, I guess it's according to me. We're all newbies in one way or another, and we're all experienced on others. But just the way I understand it, it's kind of like we have an all-knowing self that knows everything that's ever happened to us on any lifetime or timeline or whatever existence we want to consider it. Some people believe that there's like a spiritual premortal life, and then we go into a physical life and we die and we recycle and are resurrected. So there's different belief systems. It's all pretty much the same thing, just with the way I've understood it. And so it's like we've got our creator that creates everything, that's all knowing, and then we're kind of like a split off of that. We're kind of a piece of creator. And so that's where kind of the different myths or whatever legends or different things where gods are saying, I am one in you, and you are me, and I am you. It's kind of like we all are at one point or another at the same point. We can be each other. We can have different experiences that are similar, but we're all connected. And I think of kind of like mycelium, like mushrooms or like trees, the way that the roots connect. There's this kind of web of energy understanding. And I think that we all have that web to our creator. And it's this kind of self, this energy self that is understanding, it's knowing, it has all of our experiences in each lifetime. Some people call it an Akashic record. I think there's a lot of different ways to put it, but this all-knowing self basically has a contract with what we're doing here. And we want to get to a certain point in our energetic evolution. And so, of course, you got to go through tests. And if you have an open book test, you don't always get to know, did I really pass that test? So sometimes it's got to be closed book. We learn things, whatever, we experience things, but really when we're put under fire, under pressure, and we can have compassion and really be loving in the moment, it's not easy to choose peace or the higher path. But I think that that's when we connect to that higher energy or that higher understanding, when we're greater than probably we could have been if we hadn't stepped aside and really connected to the energy of maybe I am something better, something stronger, without having to compare yourself to anybody else or be competitive. It's just that all knowing of I am
Yeah,
something
absolutely.
special. I am power. I am all knowing, but I'm also nothing. I'm also lowly. I'm also learning. I'm a child. And having that split of, some people say we got to get rid of the ego. We got to get rid of the ego. We need some ego to be able to have greater understanding. It's finding that balance of letting go and holding on just a little bit to say, what can I learn? Sometimes this is not cool. And I'm going to throw a fit right now and whatever. But when I get back to center, what did I really learn? And how can I be better? It's this connection to something greater. And I think that there's guides along the way, whether they're physical, spiritual, emotional. I can't claim to know everything. I'm just a
Yeah.
person just like everybody else. Maybe somebody's in kindergarten, maybe someone's in 10th grade, maybe I'm a freshman in college. I don't know. All I know is there's things that I've learned that make sense. And if it makes sense to you, great, go with it. And I've learned when I really can settle myself in gratitude and remember where I'm strong and I can stay very focused in the moment of chaos. That's when I know that I've successfully mastered the self. And I think that that's all that we come here to do is to learn how to do that and then do it tomorrow and then do it the next day. And that's what becoming perfect is about, is be perfect in your imperfection and just keep going.
Yeah, definitely the journey is the most important. Is willing to be the journey rather than just lay down and said F it, But
Right.
so that's the first step is learning what your higher self is, and you gotta listen to yourself. So when you sit quietly, you can ask yourself questions. Where can I go? What can I do? How do I handle these problems? Your body is also telling you many things.
Absolutely.
If you feel like you have a headache, does your tummy hurt? Does your arm hurt? Does your fingers hurt? Why are they hurting? And you can ask your body these sort of
Mhm.
things. There's a reason why, or not just there for no reason. It's happening for a reason. And you can
There's
ask
actually,
we can ask yourself questions, including your higher self questions. You
right.
can ask your guides questions. You just you can ask these things, but a lot of people don't do that. They end up going straight to the doctor and asking those questions when you can do your things yourself.
Oh, yeah. I know that Google has a lot of cool references. One of the old school was Louise Hay. I loved her book. I think it was called um, Heal Your Life, Heal Your Energy. So something about anyway, it talks about the body. I'm just like on a tangent.
Mhm.
But it talks about like with people with problems with their lungs, there's problems with fear. With your liver, there's problems with anger. And it talks about really getting to the root of stuff and healing the trauma. And when you can heal the trauma to where the thought of what happened no longer affects you emotionally, that's when you've basically integrated that darkness or that shadow self. Some people say, what is shadow work? Well, shadow work is when we can actually look at something that was so traumatic that we disassociated or we turned it off, kind of like, whoa, I don't ever want to see that again. I never want to experience this. I'm going to bury it to the deepest depths of our soul. There's ways that we can actually split the self, and it's almost like it's buried to the point that it no longer exists, or there's an amnesia. And the military has actually used that for its benefit, like the different 3-letter agencies like the CIA. There's different files at the cia.gov website where they actually disclose that. I think it was June 21st of 2021, or I don't know, maybe the first, somewhere last year. is when a lot of that stuff was disclosed, which some of it I laugh because I've read a lot of their papers and there's so much stuff whited or blacked out that it's like, yeah, okay, disclosure, ha ha ha, that stuff is still classified or it would not be blacked out.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Even now
But
they're using the redaction pen over time.
right. But you know, the mind is such a powerful thing and it's so impressionable. That's why the schools and religion groom children so easily. That's why
Yeah.
they want to take our children and have them in the systems. And that's why it's so important to be able to get people in the system that have values that match with, you know, helping our children so that they can grow up with a healthy psyche, that they can learn that, you know, yeah, in special cases, sometimes there might be somebody that's born with both sexes or hermaphrodite. Yeah, that happens. Or somebody that's truly, you know, gender confused. It's really actually more rare than it would be otherwise. And a lot of us, myself included, I think that have had, and you know, there might be flack for this, whatever. This is my opinion according to what I've experienced as well as psychology that I've researched, you know, whatever. You know, a lot of us that portray traits of sexual trauma display it in different ways. And sometimes it can be unhealthy, other times it can be healthy but different. I'm biromantic. And so even though I do have a healthy heterosexual relationship with my partner, you know, there's times that we've given consent and, you know, I explore females. But, you know, it's to each his own or her own. I think sometimes it's the way that we deal with what life has given us, and you know, in different ways we're exploring our world. And I think that if we can do it in ways that are healthy, that are not affecting others and forcing that on others.
Right.
I would never force the way I do my life on someone else, especially not a child. That's so wrong to take a child
Yeah.
and say, oh, you're a little boy. No, you're a little girl because you're playing with a doll. You know what? I played with Tonka trucks when I was a girl. I was
Yeah.
shooting guns. I was picking my nose and playing with rattlesnake or not rattlesnakes, but playing with snakes, you know, just being a tomboy. That doesn't mean I was a lesbian at the time. I still liked boys, you know, but it gives
Mm.
nobody the right to groom me because I have a behavior that just happens to go through. You know, let the child explore their behavior, but don't tell them what they're doing. You know, just ask
Yeah.
questions. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Well, cool. You be you know, be happy and just teach them values, you know, be a good person, be honest, have integrity, which is doing, you know, the right thing, even though you think nobody's looking, you know, be good, you know. I think that that's one of
Absolutely.
the things that we can all agree on, that, you know, I know that there's some things that each one of us have differences on, but there's things that we come together unified in. And that especially is protecting our children and our children's future, because that's the future of our planet.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the first thing we need to do is to teach the younger generation definitely even how to listen to themselves. If there's
Yes. And
something that
ask
they are not
questions.
comfortable with doing something, let them be not comfortable. Don't just say, oh, well, we're going to go for it anyway.
Right.
Yeah, you don't shove your opinion definitely in a kid's face. You know, they're literally pushing all these gender changes on a kid.
Right.
They're even creating these gender problems, if you will. And it's not healthy at all, in my opinion. Really, their job in school, in my opinion, is to just teach, you know, the classes that they need, the reading, the writing, whatever. Um, you can let them know that these things exist, which I agree with you, but I wouldn't shove it in their face.
Right.
You know, I missed that the Pledge of Allegiance, you know, was not really being taught in school anymore.
It is
So
really weird.
yeah. So, you know, we're doing that in our school. So it's just that one of the things that I want people to start doing is to listen to themselves. If they feel uncomfortable doing something, then there's a reason why your body gives you these feelings, these butterflies in stomach, the dry throat feel, or whatever other feelings you get. You should listen to yourself. Your body knows, and it doesn't lie. That's the one thing. It will never lie to you. It will faithfully work with you, but you have to work with it as well.
It's going to do
So-
everything in its power to do what it can to help you. Oh,
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, we have guides that will help us. So the thing is, you can talk to anyone. You can also talk to any saints. The one of the things that that I've been trying to teach people is the anchor meditation, where you can go back in time, almost like how Scrooge did, and you can watch a scene unfold, a trauma scene that you had in your childhood, and you watch it unfold, and then you were able to talk to the people. That's a little different than Scrooge, because he wasn't able to talk to any of the, the people that were in his past. But you can go back there and talk to the people in your past, and maybe right the ship, right the situation. And so therefore, you'll feel better. You talk to yourself, you talk to the people involved that caused the trauma, and you give yourself kind of a hug, you give yourself permission to feel awful about it, and you work your way back and until you can, deal with the situation thoroughly. And then you're able to leave that particular scene and close the door on it, let the door disappear, and you have dealt with it. If you feel lighter, you feel better, then it's over. You've dealt with that shadow work, that whole part of your life. And it's good to actually do that with the things that you're handling every day as well. Like if you ran into a Karen or you had some issues. The other day I was frustrated because I couldn't open a jar, and I don't know why I was frustrated over a jar, but so you have to actually go back and talk to yourself, so until you've dealt with a majority of the trauma, if not all the trauma that's in your past, you're going to be doing these types of meditations on both ends of a stick, if that makes any sense. You'll be dealing with the past, you'll be dealing with the presence, of what things are going on, and, be able to balance out your trauma so you don't have all these backlogs of traumas that you have to deal with and their side effects. So when you do your shadow work, of any kind of shadow work, you want to make sure that you're not backlogging yourself. So you want to keep working on it, consistently. It would be good to work on it every day, in my opinion. Well, we all don't, but it would be good to work on it as much as possible so that you kind of keep up with it. Otherwise, you will start exhibiting symptoms from them.
Some days you gotta just zone out, and then
Yeah.
you gotta get to the grindstone.
Absolutely.
Find a balance. That's why we've got to have that personal time. When you listen to your body, it's also, how do I feel physically? Am I tired? Do I feel rested? Do I need sex? Do I need to masturbate? Yes, we're going to go there. What is it that I need? Because everybody has those needs, and it's okay. It's okay. There's been so many areas, whether it's religion or whatever, shaming, and that is wrong. That's abusive. I think that any way that you can to find peace in the moment, to deal with something, as long as you are doing it where it's not harming someone else. You're
Yeah,
not
especially
harming
like
yourself.
detox.
Right.
Yeah,
It's a
detox. You have to
cathartic.
detox spiritually,
Right.
but you also have to detox physically as well. We're talking about even soaking and
And
salt
hormonally.
bath, yeah, and
Right.
whatever,
Hormonally. So, you've got to have that cathartic release. So absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Do
but
what
you
you
should
need to
give
do.
you permission to
Ground,
scream and
connect.
beat a pillow, if
Yes.
you need
You know
to.
what? You know what works is make an angry bat. Take some old newspaper or something, wrap it up with duct tape, and you know what? Beat the shit out of your pillow. If you gotta drive and cuss and scream and smack the seat next to you and pretend that that's whoever hurt you, and then maybe go back into it and destroy it all, and then go back and make yourself little kids and say, what made you that way? Who hurt you so
Yeah.
bad that you turned out that way, that you did this to me? And you know what? That's part of the Hoffman process, is being able to look at things in a way that you're able to see, holy shit, you know what? Those people suck, but whoever hurt them sucked too. And they just learned that behavior. And so I'm going to step aside and have some compassion. I'm not going to let them hurt me. This is where a lot of people in these different religions where, even I was, practicing, say, okay, there's this forgiveness thing, and you take people back. Sometimes you have to put a boundary and you have to block people, and that's okay. You never
Yeah.
do anything where you're defaming. You just move forward and think, what did I learn? And you see that person as that little boy or that little girl and what they went through. And then you can have compassion and say, you know what, that sucks you went through that. That sucks that you treated me this way. But I'm going to let that go and I forgive you. I'm not going to let you hurt me anymore. And I forgive you and I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me and I forgive you. It's kind of incorporating a lot of stuff like the Ho'oponopono. It's releasing
Yeah.
of energies, letting go, and also bringing back peace of mind and that healing, that kind of comfort or that well-being of, you know what, how come everything's going to be okay?
Yeah. That's why they say time is an illusion, because you can go back in time. If people say, what, you want me to go back in time and fix it? Yeah, you actually can go back in time and fix it. Maybe not the physical way that we're familiar with, but you can go back in time. When you meditate, you go back to the scene of what happened. And you, like I said, you can talk to anyone.
Yeah.
You can absolutely talk to anyone back there, including yourself. And it helps. It literally helps to do that. You go back as yourself, watching yourself in the scenery. So you can go all the way back. There's a lot of times I had to go back and talk to my younger self and just say, look, this person is a jerk. And it's okay. It's absolutely okay. This doesn't reflect on you. It is them, They decided to be that way. This doesn't mean that you are a dork. This doesn't mean that you are a loser. This just means that they're talking about themselves, and people will say things in the heat of anger. It's always not from the heart.
That's very true. I think that's those traumatized toddlers that are left over from us that are injured, and that's where we left off in that trauma, where we fractured and disassociated. And so that's where that compassionate witness, even with ourselves, with stepping back and like, oh shit, okay, this is where I messed up. Okay, what can I do to fix it? And then how can I go and reconcile if I hurt somebody else? Or if I hurt myself, even, how can I self-love and self-forgive?
And that's what's going on with the world these days, is they're putting a snot load of weight on themselves, layer after layer after layer, day after day. What does that result in? We get Karens. We get people that are triggered easily. We get people that, that want to hurt others.
Right.
Instead of heal what's going on with them, they lash it out to someone else. And it's all just going to create another person with trauma. And just as much as negativity can be infectious, so can love, so can positivity.
Absolutely.
All of it can be infectious as well. So what would you like the world to be infected with? It's all up to you.
Gratitude.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So,
Well, I think we had a pretty good chat tonight, guys.
yeah, it's good to be back.
Yeah. Oh man, a lot of
I
stuff
agree.
happened. I guess it's good to kind of have some downtime again.
Yeah, it feels good to be back. Eventually, I will be able to take Dr. Bloom, drag him by any part of his body that I can grab onto. He's a really tall guy. I'm tiny. And we will get him on the show soon. So I know that we need to all be back together again. So,
Oh yeah,
but,
that'd be awesome.
yeah, but this is wonderful to be back. So we have a lot
Yeah.
more things that are going on in the world. So we see you next week, right?
Heck yeah, you guys.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, guys, for listening. We also appreciate C4OC Radio Network and Rev Radio Las Vegas. You guys are awesome. We love you guys. Have any suggestions? Please feel free to head on over to the best problem solvers at live.com. And we'll love to answer any questions or got any comments or suggestions. definitely love to hear from you. Thanks so much. Love you guys. Thanks so much,
Love
Sue
you.
and Alex, for being here
You too.
tonight. Thanks, Katie, for putting us on air. We'll talk to you guys later.
Lots of love. Bye.